Here's why working harder won't actually improve your life. And I learned this the hard way. So here's the story. This year, I'm taking a gap year from university, which means I'm not studying. Instead, I'm spending all that time on work. And right now, I'm working at this company where I'm the YouTube strategist. Basically, I help manage the company's YouTube channel and help it grow. And recently, we hit 1 million subscribers, which was a great milestone, but we're just trying to keep the momentum from there. But basically, to do YouTube like strategy, there's like so many different things that I have to learn, like how to do titles, thumbnails, how do I use effective sales, how do I make sure people actually like buy the course or whatever. So there's many different aspects to YouTube strategy, and my initial approach was just to spend all my time learning as much about YouTube strategy as possible. Like any piece of information I could find that's related to YouTube, I'll be watching that. And the issue was, it just led to me doing a lot of work, but it didn't necessarily lead to any outcomes. It didn't make me feel like I was better at YouTube. I just felt like I was very busy for the sake of being busy. And this is where my boss shared with me some very key insights, which I want to share with you now, because he's been a learning coach for the past 13 years. He knows a lot about productivity and the research behind it. And what he shared with me really changed my perspective about what hard work is and why you don't necessarily need to work more to achieve more results. And I thought I knew what he was going to say. Everyone says work smarter, not harder. And that's kind of true, but it's a very big generalization. And it's very actually hard to actually know what working smarter is. So I want to share with what he shared with me. So the first part is understanding the factors that lead to outcomes. So understanding what actually helps you achieve your outcome. And this is where he brought up two ideas. First is the idea of low-level work, and then the idea of high-level work. So low-level work is quite repetitive tasks. So if you can think of some job that's just very repetitive, let's say you're in a factory assembling different things, that's very repetitive, it's very low level. And for that type of work, working more actually gets you better results. Because if I spend 2 hours assembling things in a factory, if I spend 10 hours assembling, assuming that I don't just pass out, I would end up getting more done. And so for low level work, working harder is actually the best solution, because that's how you get more output. Now, here's the issue though. For most jobs, they really require you to do high level work. And high level work is where you're dealing with complex strategic tasks. And if you're watching this type of video and you're really getting after it and pushing your boundaries and trying to excel in whatever field you're doing, you're most likely doing high level work. So for high level work, this is where quality really trumps quantity. And this is where the raw amount of hours that you spend on a task doesn't actually matter. And I remember this to be completely true when it comes to studying. You see those people studying 10 hours a day, but there's other people that only study 2 hours a day and end up doing better. So studying is an example of high level work. If you study more, it doesn't actually mean it's better. And in fact, my boss told me at after around 4 hours, it really starts to cut off. So that's kind of the maximum if you're really prioritizing the quality of the task that you're doing. So what my boss told me is, since I was doing high level work, YouTube strategy, success depends on so many other things apart from time, and often depends on intangible factors, such as time spent outside of the execution to reflect and consolidate on ideas. Just general time just to sit there, just to process and consolidate everything, just understand everything that you've just done to a much deeper level, which allows for more abstract and dissociated thinking, which helps you see patterns, see high level trends, and therefore just allows you to think about the task on a much deeper level than everyone else. And as a result, you're able to come up with ideas that no one else has come up with. And so that's what I realized. I didn't need to spend more time executing on, let's say, making thumbnails or doing YouTube. I needed to sometimes just pause and genuinely just reflect on everything I've done and just kind of process everything. Because I've realized sometimes in life, I just get so busy in like in the hamster wheel, and I just like, work. But I never like lift my head up and see like the bigger picture and just take time to actually like reflect. And so when people say you have to be productive 24/7, I actually agree with that statement. But most people confuse being productive 24/7 with working 24/7. So being productive 24/7 is much different from working 24/7. You can be productive through rest, through just sitting in the park and just reflecting, either thinking about nothing or thinking about everything that happened in work. So that's the idea, that you can be productive 24/7, but that doesn't mean you have to work all the time. And so that's why working more would actually not improve your life, because you're not giving yourself the chance to actually think more deeply about whatever you're studying, whatever you're learning, or whatever you're working on. And so the takeaway of this video is, yes, you need to like work hard. That's the foundation. But after a certain limit, like let's say 4 to 5 hours a day, then working more doesn't actually help. And sometimes it's more like high yield to actually sit there, literally sit in front of like a blank wall, like right here, and just reflect on everything you've done, ways to improve it, try and find connections where you couldn't see otherwise, and see if there's any other things you could do to potentially make the work that you just did better and continue to refine that process. Because working more is definitely not the solution. So the takeaway is, if you want to genuinely improve your life, it's not to work 24/7, but it's try to be productive 24/7.